Okay. Good evening, everyone, and I am very happy to see everyone again here at Kuwentong HR. So, welcome back. I hope many of our HR out there are safe. I know last week we had an incident with the typhoon, especially that had onslaught on Central Luzon and most of the Luzon area. And I hope you are still okay, and we're praying that those who are affected will be somehow able to bounce back and able to reach out to those their loved ones, especially on those affected areas. But anyway, welcome back to our Kwentong HR. Ayan. So another Saturday once again, and today is very exciting to talk about something very relevant, especially I know that we've been like 8 months into the pandemic, and we are just waiting for things to get normalized, and definitely the new normal will be sometime soon. So we're continue to pray, of course, before the Christmas season happens, that this pandemic will end. But for the meantime, definitely our topic is relevant in terms of how to get, to be prepared in terms of the credentials and what are the HR credentials that are needed. So with me tonight is, of course, our ka-HR, Miss Michelle Morales. Hi, Mitch.
Hi, friend. Hello, everyone. Thank you once again for watching Kwentong HR. So, kagaya nga ng sinabi ni friend, very timing, very relevant ang ating topic for tonight. And excited din ako to have a kwentuhan about our topic. Yan.
Yes. Fred Mitch, of course, ano tayo, no? Let's give a shout out to those who are watching in Facebook, and of course, through the Facebook page of our partner, Competent Training. Of course, thank you so much for always continuously, supporting us. So, kaway-kaway dyan.
Yes, good evening and hope everyone is safe and well, no?
Correct, correct. And aside from the typhoon, I'm sure a lot of people are waiting again for some updates that's happening in the HR community and of course in our daily HR lives. Ano ba yung mga naganap during this past 2 weeks that we've been out for, especially during the typhoon as well, and maybe something from Dole, friend Mitch.
Actually, friend, aside dun sa 13th month pay, hindi talaga update but really more on reminder to all of us HR, no? Kasi nga mag-year end na eh. And we know that pag patapos na yung taon, busy bukod sa accounting ang HR because of all the annualization and all those stuff, reconciliation of leave credit. Siguro it's more of, reminder to all of us na ngayon pa lang, as early as now, we know that yung mga reports na yun are very important. So we could start, reconciling our leave credits, 'di ba? Kung may mga anong tawag doon, friend, yung kailangan i-encash na mga leave credits. So ngayon pa lang, no, November pa lang umpisahan na natin 'yan. And of course, the 13th month pay, meron tayong meron tayong deadline kung kailan binibigay ang mga 13th month pay. So it's 12 midnight, no, latest 12 midnight ng December 24. Ayun.
Ayan, siyempre kailangan ready for the Noche Buena.
Yes, totoo, no? Kailangan
Makapaghanda.
before, 1 minute before the Noche Buena, no?
Oh, yes, definitely. So, definitely that's one of the things that friend Mitch had mentioned, no, yung labor advisory 2028. That is the number that you need to read. It's available on the official gazette .gov.ph. You can check that out. You can download it, read it more because according to Dole, no, hindi na daw pwede na i-defer. Just like what had been mentioned in the earlier labor advisories way back in April and May, wherein you are, the government is encouraging a lot of, especially in the private sector, to give out a 13th month pay, yung partial during the time. But of course, a lot of companies also would like to opt out Syempre, because of the pandemic at the time, ng ECQ, medyo mahirap talaga. So there are deferments. But now, because it is part of uh, the labor law that the companies, especially in the private sector, should give out the 13th month pay to employees before December 24, sabi nga ni friend. Ayan. Ano pa bang mga updates or meron pa ba tayong nabasa? Ayan. Friend Mitch. Meron pa ba tayong mga before sige.
meron na, meron lang akong biglang naalala kasi wait lang this is more on a clarificatory advisory. Wait lang. I'm just opening my file para alam ko kung ano yung number. Ayan. So labor advisory number 30 ba to 80? Yeah, this is clarificatory guidelines on the implementation of COVID-19 adjustment measures
Yes, the
program.
camp
Yes. Yeah, the camp. So ito yung tinatawag na Camp 2. Tapos
or Bayanihan Act 2.
yan,
Ayan.
oo. So, yeah, ano siya, pwede siyang ma-download no sa again website ni Dole. So,
Correct. And
for that,
that is actually Republic Act, no? So
yes.
it means it's a ratified law.
Yes.
So yung Bayanihan Act 11924, I think if I remember correctly, that is the Bayanihan Act 2, meaning until December lang yan. So you should be able to go to the doleg.gov.ph. There's a reporting link. Hindi po katulad dito ng camp before that you have to email. You have to go to the website of the Department of Labor and Employment and then go to the reports area doon sa isang portion of the website, and then you have to fill in the information of your employees. And remember, according to the provision of this labor advisory, just like Friend mentioned, the employees who are only eligible are three. Very important. Mahaba kasi itong labor advisory, no? Pero ito yung tatlong very important. Number one, dapat hindi siya nakakuha ng camp nung first time. So hindi na siya, disqualified na siya kung nakakuha siya before yung COVID adjustment measure program. Number two, dapat siya ay until now wala pa ring work. Temporarily laid off or naka-floating status sila as of this time. Kasi kung sumisweldo na sila, they're going to the office or they are working from home, they are not going to be eligible because they have a source of income. The third one is employees who have salaries below 40,000 pesos. So kung manager ka man, supervisor, or regular employee na rank and file, or even if you are a director, as long as your position is not getting 40,000 pesos and above, then you are going to be eligible. Pero pag mas mataas sa 40,000, you are not going to be assessed by DOLE because basically they're saying, kaya mo namang kumita ng malaki pala. Of course, we're not saying that you're not affected by COVID, but there's so many other employees and fellow citizens, Filipinos out there in the other regions of the Philippines who may be needing more help kasi they are only working from a minimum wage salary. 'Di ba? So pagbigyan natin yung mga mas talagang nangangailangan ng tulong, especially those who are, getting a salary that is below 20,000, below 16,000 because, talagang kailangan na kailangan nila 'yan. Anything else would like to add, Miss Mitch? Friend?
Yun actually yung gusto kong updates and then reminders. So more on the compensation, no?
Correct. Kasi Christmas season na.
Totoo. That's true. And of course, as HR, we also would want to spend time for our family. Kaya nga as early as now, kung ano yung mga naman yan, may list na tayo niyan kung ano yung kailangan nating reports, no, na kailangan i-submit sa December. So, para hindi rin tayo maratel, no, na December nagpapahinga tapos tayo nag-work. So, as early as now, no, reminder yan sa atin kasi reminder din yan para sa akin kasi I'm also
Correct.
Yes, yung mga reports na yun. So,
correct. Aside from that, friend, we still continue to, we're still expected to continue to submit the WAIR. Ano daw yung
Oo,
WAIR?
walang
AIR?
dumudugo yung ilong ko.
Oo, yung workplace. 'Di ba? Ito yung workplace. Ano pangalan nun? Incident report. I forgot the A. Basta ito yung document that it's needed to be submitted on a monthly basis to DOLE. Of course, you have to submit it via email now. There's a specific email. Go to the DOLE website, and then there is by region siya, or by city, especially in NCR. So if example you are in Makati, if you are in Muntinlupa, Las Piñas, Rizal, Taguig, 'di ba? Yan yung Muntaparlas,
Mhm.
and yung Pasig, um
Papa
uh,
Mamarisan.
yan. Yun, magkakasama sila doon. Ayan. So there are areas, there are, I mean, Dole website, Dole email addresses that you have to email those information, especially your workplace accident incident report. Ayun, nakompleto ko rin. Ayan. So that includes your COVID cases, ha? So if
Yes.
you have a positive COVID case na confirmed, okay, na confirmed ng DOH, you have to include them. Ayan. Hindi yan pwede yung fake news or chismis lang. Huwag niyo po silang isali doon. Okay? So that's one of the things. Another, friend Mitch, is you have to also submit to DOLE continuously your daily health check forms. Ito yung daily health declaration forms. Ito yung you have to submit. Parang, di ba, if you go to Jollibee, I sorry, or in fast food areas or in malls, di ba, meron kang susulat doon. So the same goes for your company. You have to submit your temperature and ensure that your employees are not sick when they're going to the workplace. So ayan. So you also have to submit a consolidated copy of your health declaration form to your um, area for Dole, right? Where your office is located. Ayan. Meron pa ba tayong nakalimutan, friend? Dami na nating
Oo,
nasabi.
parang may mga questions na nga agad
Wow! Maraming salamat
because of the
po.
updates, no?
Correct.
So,
Sige. Maybe you can check out.
yes, sige. Pero bago ko sabihin yung questions. Hello Kim. Hi Roch. Ito yung brinaso ko, manood kayo ng live namin. Hi Paul, Pinas from Vietnam. Okay, so
Paul, hello.
si Gypsy nanonood din sa atin. Tapos si Miss Tess. Hi Miss Tess. Hello. Ayan. So ang question natin, ayan, makukuha pa din ba nat makukuha pa rin ba yung 13th month's pay kung 3 to 4 months lang po nakapag-stay sa company?
Yes, friend. According again to labor law, specifically mentioning about the 13th month pay, you can also check that out in the BIR, mentioning na yung eligibility ng 13th month pay is not discriminating any employee, okay, regardless whether regular siya, project-based, seasonal, pakyawan, um, limited time offer, kumbaga, sa work. But ito yung clincher. So you have to remember that the person will need to work at least for 1 month in the company or 30-day cycle. So kung wala pa siyang 1 month sa company, ay hindi siya makakakuha ng 13, hindi siya eligible. But if nag-ano siya, bawa, na-hire siya ng November 1, o yan. So, ibig sabihin, by December 24, naka 1 month na siya noon. Ayan. Again, it depends on your company policy. There are companies na, especially yung mga multinational companies and BPOs, and even local companies na they have a policy, no, may cut-off sila.
Yes.
So, sometimes nagka-cut off sila ng December 1. So, if you were hired December 1, makukuha mo yung 13th month pay mo next year na. So just be sure to ask your HR partners or your HR department on those kinds of nitty-gritty details, especially when you are signing your contract for your employment. Ayan. Tama ba yun, friend?
Oo, friend. Actually, yun yung doon, no? Yung keyword doon, no? At least 1 month of service na. So, entitled ka to a prorated na 13th month pay.
Correct. Very, very good yun, friend. Kasi sometimes yung iba nag-expect ng buong
1
sweldo.
month ng taray. Sana all, 'di ba?
Oo, sabi nila, sabi ng government, no, is dapat ang computation is prorated. Ayan. And friend, before I forget nga pala, there is a labor advisory, the same thing, Labor Advisory 2820. Sinasabi doon yung paano ko computein ang 13th month pay. So, hindi kasama dito yung mga araw na hindi ninyo ipinasok. So if you're on maternity leave, hindi yun binabayaran yung time na ikaw ay naka-maternity. The same thing if the employee was on floating status or no work, no pay during the ECQ period or until now during the GCQ. So kung hindi sila pumapasok at hindi sila binabayaran ng sweldo during this period, yan po ay hindi ko computan ng 13th month pay. You will only be eligible on the days wherein you have been paid for your service. Whether you are working in center or working from home, as long as you were compensated on those days, then you will be computed on that regarding the prorated ratio of your 13th month pay. Grabe, ang dami na nating nasabi talaga. Basta Pasko talaga, people are
Totoo.
really awaiting the 13th month, friend.
Totoo, totoo. Oo, may mga kakanta niya na diyan. Ibigay niyo na, no? Yung mga ganun.
Oo. Nangangaroling.
Yes, oo, correct. Okay. So, going back, friend, dito sa sa ating topic, no, HR
Yes.
credentials. Oo. Feeling ko kasi relate na relate. Siguro kaya tayong dalawa yung ngayon co-host ngayon. Feeling ko kasi talaga tayo dito eh. Relate much tayo dito sa
Correct.
sa ating
Mm-mm.
topic na yun, na
Mm-mm.
natin for tonight. And very excited ako. Feeling ko naman may ma-share din ako. And of course, sa'yo, no, madami tayo ma-share. And of course, from our guest speaker for tonight. Okay.
Yes. And of course, he is no other than the person in charge and the person behind, diba, of the CHRP here in the Philippines, diba, through the IFPM. And of course, he is also one of the advocates in terms of, training and leadership and development in the Philippines. And definitely he has also a book, diba? Yung book ni Sir, definitely the HR Compass is one of the things that I've read in the past. So, ayan. So, without further ado, we would like to welcome our speaker talaga, our guest for tonight, Sir Ronald Turla. Hello,
Hello.
Sir Ron.
Hi. Good evening. Can you hear me? Can I check if you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. And actually, I just finished a program for CHRP, as I've mentioned to you earlier this afternoon. So I'm coming off from the batch 31 of CHRP.
Wow, grabe. Batch 31,
Batch
friend.
31 na.
Wow!
So I'm feeling old as the batch progresses. Ayun.
I was
Kasi yung mga
very fortunate to
yung mga
hear that.
nagpa-participate, mga millennials na talaga, sabi ko parang, wow, mga new generation. Okay. Yeah, and I
Sir
think it's good.
Ron,
Yes.
ikaw ba ay nasa office o are you in your home
I
office?
I am from my home office. Yes, I'm broadcasting from my home office. Yes.
Wow, via satellite ba, Sir Ron?
Via Zoom. Ayun.
Friend,
So,
tanungin na natin si Sir Ron kasi I'm
okay.
sure a lot of the HRs, the same thing that we are proud products of CHRP. See, I was very fortunate that Sir Ron was the facilitator during the day that I was
Ako ba?
taking
Ako ba
the.
yung nag-facilitate
Oh,
sa'yo?
yes.
Okay. Sa dami kasi ng batches, parang nakakalimutan ko na kung sino yung audience ko. Kasi participants. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. How important po ba yung credentials? When we talk about that credentials sa HR field, how important is it really?
Well, yung mga certifications that are present right now gives that emphasis kasi on your accomplishment as HR professionals. Ano? So, parang before this era of the certifications, if you notice, walang any kind of parang acknowledgement of, let's say, your experience. Normally, based on my own experience, parang you just accumulate the years of experience sa HR, pero there's nothing like okay, so you are, certified whatsoever, no? So I think that is what this certification is bringing to the table right now, that people are gunning for the certification because the certification describes your accomplishment kasi. So in a way, if you'd want to be acknowledged with your accomplishments in your practice in HR, the certification is a good way, no? So also in the era of branding, no, 'di ba, employee or employer branding, it's very good for you to back up yourself with that kind of certification because once that, employers or organizations nakita nila, ay, this person is is a learner, constantly updates himself, for example, and is iba kasi yung impact din ng international or global certification. To be frank about it, yung CHRP, before I even became CHRP, my first ever certification was the one that I got from the US when I became a certified trainer. So yun yung una ko na experience of being certified na kumbaga, a foreign body, gave me that authority to say, okay, you can do this on your country. So in that
Mm.
case, parang that gave me that kind of confidence that you can say that you are world class. Yun. So the certifications makes you at least toe to toe with your counterparts in other countries. So I think yun yung isang what I could say to be the value of certifications now.
Ikaw, friend Mitch, ano ba yung insight natin dyan?
Sobrang agree ako kay kay Sir Ronnie doon sa sinabi niya nga na yung certification describes your accomplishment more than the years no na in-spend mo in HR. Kasi 'di ba Sir Ronnie may assessment talaga eh, 'di ba? May thorough assessment na ginagawa. Not only yung years of experience mo but also saan kang area na expose sa sa HR. So merong tedious assessment na nangyayari before mo pa makuha yung certification. Plus nagse-serve din siya as a refresher kasi meron siyang
Yes.
training program.
Yes.
And then from the training program, you will also be creating a sort of business case which is yun yung yun yung medyo nakaka-pressure. If I'm not mistaken sa CHRP parang batch 11, 10 ata ako. So nasa 30. Oh my god, diba? Parang medyo matagal na rin siya.
Correct,
So yun,
correct.
kumbaga tama rin si Sir Ronnie na before wala talaga eh. Even the HR community wala naman din. Sariling sikap talaga yung mga HR before. But this time no, sobrang swerte ng mga HR because we have this kind of certifications that would really describe yung accomplishments na meron tayo. So how about you, friend? What's your insight naman?
Nako, ano tawag dito? Yung certification kasi in the Philippines, because I used to teach, I'm a licensed teacher. So when I look at it from the journey that I gotten as a teacher going to HR, di ba parang it validates your existence as a professional. So from a teacher perspective, it gives you enough qualification to say, because you have been given a certain license from a regulatory body in the Philippines, it recognizes your ability to teach, right? Isa HR, parang ito nga yun, nakakatakot when I started with HR, parang ito yung job daw na um, thankless. Thankless na hindi ka pa na-recognize.
Correct.
Right?
Tama.
But I think, Sir Ronnie, yung question dito is, where does an HR, whether they are at the beginning of their career as an HR or in the middle of the career, or towards maybe parang nandun sa mataas na position na in HR, do they need to segregate certain aspects of an HR professional to to get a certain HR credential, just like in CHRP?
Well, for me, no, kasi since I've witnessed yung different people attending the CHRP, no, and some of them are really well experienced, no. I would say some of them parang halos medyo kasabayan ko in terms of yung kung kailan sila nag-start ng HR, and I do acknowledge that with them, and I told them that the certification kasi, as I've mentioned, tries to acknowledge your accumulated experience and accomplishment, no. And this is also to segregate kasi 'di ba, if you look at the landscape right now of HR, marami sa mga organizations would try to just put an HR, pero parang hindi naman sila talaga HR. For example, they don't have
Correct.
proper training, they don't have proper background, for example. That's why pag tinignan mo, the differentiator for a person with, let's say, with CHRP is that it is a sign that the person is either a professional, no, especially given the experience, or at the same time, the term itself, the CHRP, that it means that you know exactly what you're doing in your role. Kasi di ba minsan that's what happens to some HR na they're put into position, no, they're called HR supervisor, HR manager, for example, and yet here you come, tatanungin mo sila, oh, what do you know about this? No? And then wala silang masagot, for example. So I think that's where the certification comes in. No? So in some kasi in other types of certification, talagang medyo nagsispecialize. If you look at it, if you look at the, let's say, the pattern for yung US, yung SHRM, di ba? Society of Human Resource
Mm-hmm.
Management. It's very intricate, no, na talagang Kaya lang parang for me yung ganong pattern kasi in the local setting, hindi masyadong papatok sa Pilipinas. For me, that's my opinion lang. Because parang masyadong specialized siya, no? Na siguro in the Western world, yeah, definitely sa dami ng HR dun sa US, for example, you would need really parang specialized track, for example. Pero I think in the Philippines, most businesses would look at HR to be quite generalist, no, na who are good at different areas
Mm-hmm.
of HR. So yun. So that's my take about yung people having the certification at the start, probably if at the middle. Some people kasi that I've interviewed also, by the way, yung iba, especially yung mga medyo matagal na, they say, oh, ba't kailangan ko ng CHRP, for example? So I just try to tell them that it's really your decision to make, and the acknowledgement kasi that will be given to you, is in a way an accomplishment for you. You're telling in your resume, in your profile, that you have been accredited as a certified human resource professional. So parang that formalizes your more than just the accumulation of experiences that you've had from company to company, or if you've had some seminars or trainings, for example, that you've attended in the past.
Naku, very interesting talaga, friend, yung minention ni Sir Ron. One of the things I remembered when I had a very good discussion with Sir Jesse Rebustillo, one of the former PIMA presidents. And sabi niya, Marvin, you have to tell me what is the difference between a professional and a practitioner, especially from an HR perspective. And
Mhm.
I remembered yung lesson that I've learned from CHRP, no. So the professional really provides you, yung sabi ni Sir Ron kanina, na yung fundamental or foundations that you need in terms of competency building as an HR practitioner. Hindi lang to parang by default na because you have been given an HR role, then you are an HR per se. Hindi eh. Sometimes you really need to go to a rigorous training to give you enough basis, to give you enough foundations and philosophies that you can use as a kind of anchoring ideas. So when you make a decision or when you recommend to your company or to your stakeholders, they will know and you will know that you use certain approaches and
Yeah.
strategies that is based on an HR perspective. So that makes you a professional from the word itself, 'di ba? Professional tayo diyan.
Oo.
Hindi lang
At
basta
saka
yung
may pag-aaral, ibig sabihin, there's really a study. Kasi if you
correct.
don't provide, parang kunyari, if you're asked by a business owner, obviously, kunyari, tinanong niya yung mga IT, marketing, finance, obviously these are people who probably also have credentials, for example. And then here you
Correct.
come HR, no, wala kang mapakitang credentials, and all you have is just basically, simple logic. Parang ang hirap naman yon to compete with other, 'di ba, other professions in the company. So this kind of certification gives you a little bit of, I would say, edge, especially
Mm.
towards your other professionals in the company. Kasi parang ang hirap naman to feel inferior na parang other people, kunyari IT, marketing for example, they really have some accreditation. And you, for example, all you have is just sheer gut and sheer parang common sense. Mahirap yung ganon. Yun.
Naku, friend, feeling ko ang dami mong gustong tanungin kay Sir Ron. Go.
Actually, oo. Kasi nga, di ba, kanina nabanggit ni Sir Ronnie na nasa 30, batch 30 plus na, no? Yun yung sa
Yeah.
CHRP. So, ang question ko, Sir Ronnie, is because of this, parang pandemic na nangyari sa atin, in which nasa transition tayo, nagkaroon ba ng changes when it comes doon sa mismong curriculum? Like, are there new skills na kailangan matutunan or kailangan malaman ng mga HR, which is, part of the certification program?
Well, I would say in terms of coping with the new normal, um, yung you can see kasi that in terms of the parang skills needed for the HR right now, there are there's a certain article that was published. It's called the Future of Workplace 2020.
Mm.
No, and in the Future of Workplace 2020, the author mentioned that there are three power skills that HR professionals have to be able to learn or embrace, and this includes thinking skills, soft skills, and digital skills. Yun. So those three will enable the HR professional now to actually cope with the changes, no? And I'd like to emphasize on the digital skills, no? Because there was a study done na we are not HR professionals are not ready to go digital. Yun. So, for some reasons, ibig sabihin yan, we're still used to the traditional HR na, people interaction, for example, and not using the digital platform. So, this is something that I think CHRP is trying to incorporate also na magkaroon ng preparedness and of course yung awareness of the digital skills, no? Kasi I think even us as HR professionals, no, we still have parang we still have something to climb na, how do we do this, for example, because this is relatively new, no? Yung mga digital platform, the AI thing, for example, and analytics and all. So all of these are things that we are still learning, given that we're coming from a developing country, no? So sabi nga nila, no, apat yung levels ng analytics, nasa level 1 lang, kaya level 1 pa lang yata tayo, level 4 yung mga developed countries. So we still have to cope with that, no? So yeah, I think that's something in some offerings of the CPDs ng CHRP. I remember na nag-offer na ng something about analytics and AI. So it's part of the CPD. So for those people who are so they can be engaged towards that. Yun. So yun yung mga some changes that are made in the curriculum for CHRP.
Nako, it's
Totoo.
quite exciting, friend. At least, no, talagang we go with the times because
Yes.
that's basically what is needed in HR. You have to be flexible. You have
Mm.
to be agile. You know,
Yeah.
I'm also a member of the Lean Alliance of the Philippines. No, so sabi nila doon is, you have to be, you know, at par with the industries out there. And hindi, kasi tama si Sir Ronnie, yung HR, parang naniniwala tuloy ako dun sa sinabi mo, Sir Ron, na yung article na yung HR daw ay very traditional. I think during the pandemic, marami pa rin HR yung talagang na-shock. No,
Uh,
na-shock talaga sila. So they are shell shocked because they were used to. Example na lang, recruitment, right? They're so
yeah.
used to with the face-to-face. Now, how do I do the face-to-face? Right? It's not just
Mm.
using kasi the Zoom or maybe other platforms. There are interactions that they are also looking at. I remember some recruitment departments are using also yung mga nonverbal skills as part of
Yeah.
their criteria. So ito hindi
Correct.
mo makita kung nagpi-fidget, right? Hindi mo nakikita
Uh-huh.
kung
True.
nervous. So
Yeah.
yung personality is somehow diluted into a like this, no? Into a virtual meeting.
Virtual, ano, yeah.
And you can hide, and sometimes you can wear a shirt, a magandang shirt, pero naka-short sa baba.
Aray ko.
Right? And that's
Which is the
many,
new
many
normal, ano?
na new normal, correct? So, pero friend, ikaw, I think there are so many other questions in our Facebook page who are our there for audience. Maybe
Yeah.
you can check out some of our questions from there, and maki-shout out na rin tayo din sa mga nanonood ko tulad ni Kimberly Ann
Yes, oo. Active na
Cantillero,
active yan si Ma'am Hello, Kim. Okay,
si
pero
Karen din.
uh,
Hello.
before ko siguro basahin yung question ni Kim, to add lang rin, no, it's not enough that we already got the certification. The CPD, the
Correct.
continuous learning, is very important kasi
Correct.
doon na yung update ngayon. So, um, for some kasi no, nakuha na nila certification, tapos na. So, yung certification, I think, for us professionals, it is also our responsibility to continuously learn pa din, no? And renew our membership, our certification.
Correct. Mm-mm.
Ayan. Sige.
And siguro, no, let me add lang something, in terms of getting your certification, I would also suggest that if you want to fast track really your HR development in your career, for example, it's important to find mentors and coaches that will help you. Kasi in my experience, for example, the reason why I was able to fast track my career was because there were mentors who were very selfless, I would say, na who shared their experiences. No? And I think that's priceless for me. Of course, certifications are good, pero more than the certification, the actual experience of how they handled problems before, for me is priceless. Kasi kumbaga, hindi mo makukuha yan in anywhere that you will go. Parang, that kind of experience that they got from a particular industry, from a particular company, is so priceless that you'd really just have to accumulate that and use it as your parang, no, dapat nasa reserve mo yan na pag meron kang nasa company ka and you have this type of problem, alam mo na merong solution para doon because obviously your mentors have actually given you that kind of experiences. So, yun. So that's another thing that I'd like to mention for those who are listening right now. Try to find out or seek out, no? Remember yung mga mentors, gusto nila hinahanap sila, no? Mahirap yung it's either you apply for them, you seek with them, you have coffee with them, for example, but definitely find out a mentor and definitely it will be worth the while. Aside from, of course, putting, of course, your credentials as part of the certification.
And I think medyo connected yan dito sa question ni Kim. Ayan. Okay. So, paano po kapag pasok naman sa ang credentials at mataas naman po ang natapos pero walang experience sa HR? Mas malaki po ba ang chance ma-hire ang may experience than a person with good credentials but without experience for now? Kasi siguro talagang nag-work out siya doon sa sa further studies.
Correct.
Parang ganun po.
I would say, no, kasi kumbaga, if you look at kasi educational and then industry, magkaiba yan eh, di ba? In terms of the educational institutions, they put emphasis on what you call yung mga qualifications, like yung mga degrees that you have, di ba? Pero for the industry kasi, like, organizations which are in the parang industry setting, they emphasize more on experience rather than qualifications, like yung mga degrees, for example. That's why, if you ask me, if I were the hiring manager or if I were the company, I would still prefer somebody with the experience rather than the MBA, for example. No, I'm not so easily swayed by MBA simply because obviously MBAs are an accomplishment by themselves. Pero if wala ring sense, for example, kasi minsan may mga nakausap ako ng MBA graduates, for example, pero pag tinanong mo na simple question, simple logic, parang hindi yata MBA yung tinapos mo, parang iba. Iba yung degree natin. So, parang for me, a person with experience, for example, for HR, is much preferred. At the same time, for certification, mas ine-emphasize na yung particular managerial experience. Why? Because that is a proof that sabi nga natin, di ba, in terms of hiring a manager, kung hindi ka pa nag-hire and fire, most likely, baka hindi ka pa manager in that case, di ba? So, kasi ibig sabihin, pag manager ka, meron ka ng capacity to, to hire and fire. So, kung wala silang capacity ng ganon, and then you will hire them in the company, no, baka hindi sila tumagal doon sa company, especially if you have very challenging employees to handle. No? So for me, importante na merong experience. For those na parang starting off doon sa I would say it's still a good time for you, pero I would suggest to have really parang crash courses on HR. That would help. No, which is I think which is now available in the market. No, so take that chance to be able to take on parang crash courses on HR, and then start really attending seminars and programs, no, and get yourself with those seminars, because to a certain extent that will count eventually to your experience pag marami ka na ring seminars na attendan. Yun. So may ano yan, may mga punto, sabi nga nila.
Siguro for me naman ang insight ko dyan, if you really want to grow no your career in HR, start small. If you don't have that experience for now, no, small kasi iba talaga yung natuturo ng experience sa mga HR.
Yeah.
And kagaya nga nung nabanggit kanina ni Sir Ronnie, no, find a mentor and a coach na i-guide ka talaga, no, once you've decided to really, okay, sige, start na talaga ako, gusto ko maging HR, gusto kong mag-boom yung career ko sa HR. So, yun siguro, yun naman yung sa aking tip. Okay. How about sa you, friend?
Correct. Actually, I was thinking, friend, while Sir Ron is mentioning earlier about yung there are a lot of people. I think because of the culture in the Western, mga nasa Western part, no, mga Westerners, is that after they finish college, they take their MBAs or their master's degree, and the difference kasi with the educational system in other countries versus the Philippines is that the Philippines is very theoretical. Unlike yung mga MBA sa abroad, no, they're really using the approach wherein you have to apply. You have to apply what you're learning. So sometimes they even have yung talagang on the job training. So while they're doing the MBA, right? So yun yung difference, I think, with especially for just a perspective for those who are watching the ASEAN HR Leaders Circle Philippines Facebook page. Ayan, we're sharing this video as well there. Kasi I think the perspective from many Filipinos is that just because you got another degree, another feather in your cap, that creates opportunities for you, where in fact the experience will have to jive with your credentials, right? So it's not enough that you have the credentials, pero pag nandun ka na, sabi nga ng aking dating boss, pag namamatay na yung empleyado, hindi mo na magagamit yung MBA mo. Di ba? Kapag ka nandun na yan, kailangan mong alamin kung ano yung SSS, pag-ibig at PhilHealth process. Di ba?
Right.
Yung MBA na yan ay hindi mo magagamit. So, it really needs to be just a helping hand, but at the same time, that credential should provide you a sound decision making when it is needed best. Di ba?
Yes. I agree with that.
Friend, may question ka pa kanina, sabi mo.
Yes, eto na nga. Sir Ronnie, syempre certification course ito. So, meron talagang investment, like monetary investment. How about for those na talagang, especially ngayong panahon to, no, yung mga financially challenged. So, ano yung po pwede nilang gawin so that they would be able to still improve their upskill pa rin sila, and alam mo yun, kumbaga yung credential pa rin is makuha nila.
Okay. Siguro one way that you can do it is if you are medyo financially challenged, then depending on your company which you are affiliated with, I think you can negotiate with your employer or your company to sponsor you, no. And I'm a believer of that, no, because when I was working before, no, I was fortunate enough that my company was very generous in terms of sending us to training. No, kumbaga parang parang hindi sila naging madamot in terms of sending us because they believe na we can make use of it. And well, true enough, we were able to really implement it naman with our company. So you can try to, parang talk with your employer with regards to it if you cannot. But in the long run, for the long term, I would suggest na you also save up for some certification that you're eyeing. No, it might take you a year or so, for example. But try to be frugal enough, no, magtipid ka ng konti, and then save enough for something like this, because you'll never know. Once you finish, let's say, the certification, it could actually open doors for you for promotions or higher salaries, for example. Diba sabi nga natin, di ba, before you get anything like an accomplishment, kailangan mag-invest ka rin muna sa sarili mo. Kasi hindi mo naman makukuha yung opportunities ng ganun kung wala ring, di ba, wala ring stars in your in your credentials right now. So I think that is one way to look at it na kung hindi man right now, for example, then look for ways to be able to ask for people, no? Because I think ang very common sa ating Filipino is that we're very afraid of asking for help, no? For example, especially mga monetaryong ganito. But I've known of some people na talagang because they really desire to get through this program, no? They will do everything possible, no? And at the same time, pwede namang may may payback naman yan if ever, no? Let's say it's either you also ask from your relatives or your other your parents or whatsoever. So you can try to source for those funds. So two options for you, your employer, or try to save up. Or siguro worst case scenario, talagang manghingi ka na talaga dun sa mga people who are close to you, who understands your desire to go to that program. And siguro, make a deal na, okay, so parang may payoff tayo. For example, pag natapos ko na to, and then I get promoted, I get a job, for example, bigyan mo na lang siya, for example, or, i-treat mo siya for something. So I think that will be worthwhile, getting that kind of investment, if ever. Yeah.
Correct. I remember when I was still in the education, in the academe, no, a lot of the universities are doing that. They send their professors and their
Mm.
teachers on sabbatical. But of course, there is a return, right?
Yeah.
So they have to serve and render service in return. Pero why not? If that is for the betterment of the organization, not only for yourself, of course, as your career gain, but I
Mm.
think there's again, let me go back to the idea of educational system and the other organizations outside of the Philippines. When they do that, you have to create like a program, or even like a capstone. They use that in the MBAs, yung capstone, meaning talagang project siya to improve your organization that you are going back to. So hindi na rin masama, di ba? Rather than um, employing or paying for a consultant, which is very expensive also at some times. Why not just send your employee? But it's a double whammy for them. At least your employee got something, and then you will get something as well as part of that project. Ayan.
True. Totoo yan. Sobrang agree ako doon. Especially nga, yung certification, it's really an investment. And yung return yan sa inyo pa din. Okay, so gano'n naman siya. Siguro, one thing na talagang personal, ko to, based on my personal experience, nag-goal ako ng one certification per year. That's the reality. So, one certification per year. So, dahil nag-set na ako noon, nag-save up ako for that.
Correct. Pwede ka mag-piggy bank.
Yes, totoo. Kasi ko na siya, naset ko na siya. Like, I took yung CHRP sometime in parang 2016 if I'm not mistaken. Tapos sabi ko, ano kaya sa susunod? Parang gano'n. So siguro last year it's the CMC, and then this year the CPM. Medyo naabutan na ng pandemic na yung sa CPM. So yeah, every year meron akong developmental plan for myself. Ayan.
Yes.
So
Correct.
pinag-iipunan ko talaga siya.
If I may piggyback with friend Michelle, Sir Ron, may question po ako, and hindi ko sasabihin kung sino nag-ask nito.
Okay.
Pero ano siya, kilala siya sa
Secret man,
HR
secret.
team. Ibubulong ko na lang mamaya.
Okay. Sige, okay.
Kasi sabi ng aking mentor, sabi niya, what do you think about what's your take, Marvin, on professionals or specifically HRs who are collecting titles?
Mm.
Example, they get CHRP and then they get another and then parang ang dami ng pangalan, di ba, nandun sa dulo ng pangalan. But when you talk to that person, it doesn't make sense. So, is it just a collection of titles so that they can what do you, what do you,
What's
what
my
do we
opinion
think
about it?
about it, or is there just one specific certification that will be most beneficial for HR practitioners?
Okay. I've always believed kasi that, of course, di ba, parang the flourishing kasi of the certifications, for example, especially in the Philippine setting, allows for, number one, for competition, number two,
Mhm.
for excellence. Okay? So, parang, regardless of whether you go for CHRP or the CPHR, for example, which has been asked to me several times. But for me kasi ang take ko regarding the titles that you have, for example, sa perspective ko kasi is that what matters kasi with the titles that you put in your name is that you can defend it with actual work experience and work accomplishment. Kasi more than anything else, on the context of the business, for example, business owners would always ask you not your title, but what can you contribute to the company. At the end of the day, no, the titles, parang ano lang yan eh. Kumbaga, ang analogy ko yan, for example, uh, your school, which you are affiliated with, can, bring you to a good job. Okay? But what will get you promoted will not be your school affiliation. It will be your work accomplishment, your work ethics. Okay? So at the end of the day, you might have a lot of titles, for example, but what you should always maintain is the reputation that you deliver your results, that you are with integrity, that you are easy to communicate with. Kasi sabi nga nila, the more that you have titles, dapat mas humble ka. No? Mahirap
Mm.
yung parang ang dami mong titles, tapos pagkausap ka ng mga tao, parang hindi ka na ma-reach, for example, ang taas ng title niya, parang haba. No? So parang for me, always go back to the reality that HR, no, is still about human resources. So
Mm.
kumbaga, ang trabaho mo pa rin, despite all the titles that you have, is to again make a difference with people that you are interacting with. If you can do that, then regardless of all the titles that you've made, I think yung difference that you'd make in the lives of people that you interact with, whether they're employees, they're managers, that is the parang mas importante yun because as you mature in HR, it's the legacy that you're most concerned of, not the titles. Ibig sabihin, ano yung naiwan mo dun sa mga employees or co-managers na nakatrabaho mo? Do they have good memories about you? Okay? Because they will forget about your titles, obviously. No? So, but what they will not forget is what you made them feel, no, when you were together in the company. So for me, that's my my opinion about the title. So again, I have nothing against all having different titles. So it's every person have their goals or development targets, for example. So it's all up to you on how you make sense of at the end of the day, how you deliver the results, no? Because the titles kasi could be just good, good recalls for people. Pero people should recall you about the results that you deliver, whether you're in HR or you're in another field. So, yeah. So for me, that's important.
Correct.
Agree.
Actually, friend, share ko lang na yung one of the seminars I've attended sa online. Sabi niya doon na it doesn't matter how many certifications you get because sometimes it is really a requirement, especially if you're traveling to another country. So there are certifications that is more recognized in that particular continent or in that country. So even if you have already this previous certification, example the CHRP, maybe they will require you for another certification that is similar. So it is not necessary naman it is trying to compete which is better and which is best. But I think again tama si Sir Ron na it is the application. Why do you need it? Because if you're not able to apply it and it don't make sense, right? when you're providing recommendations and you're the only one who can understand it, then there is the disconnect. So the same thing that many of other professions are using it. Example, in the accounting field, that's why you have a CPA. That's why you
Mm.
have a lawyer, because basically you have to fight for the just and fairness of others, for the doctors because preservation of life. So there is a purpose why these
Yes.
certifications are granted, not just to anybody, right?
Yes,
Only
yes.
to those who are deserving, because they will apply the importance and relevance of that certification to their jobs.
Yes.
Diba?
Totoo, totoo. Sobrang agree ako diyan, friend and Sir Ronnie, no? So, it's the responsibility attached to the title
Yes.
more
Correct.
than the title per se.
Oh, kaya
So,
nakakatakot kapag kunyari ang dami mong
exactly.
titles kasi you are maintaining a reputation. And mind you,
Mm.
reputation is so hard, for example, because yun nga, parang kaya minsan nakakatakot din to have so many titles attached to your names because parang at the end of the day, you're still human. Ibig sabihin, you're prone to mistakes, you're prone to
Correct.
But in
To
this case,
error.
parang you have to go back to say na, I am still a learning professional. So regardless of all the
Mm.
titles that I have, I will be prone to mistakes. I will be prone to no. But again, I think the differentiator from a professional from a non-professional is that a professional will will always make sure that they protect their names properly, no, and will not
Mm.
destroy other people's reputation. Yun, that's very important. Na
No.
kasi 'di ba, posibleng ang dami mong title tapos you try to destroy other people's reputation. So that's not a good thing for people to remember you by. Na ganun yung thinking nila sa iyo. So it's still good to still maintain good relationships regardless whether may title sila or walang title. So that's an important characteristic of somebody in HR.
Wow, that's so close to home. You know what Sir Ronnie
Mm.
mentioned, 'di ba? Na
Oh,
parang if you are maligning others, then they're unprofessional.
Yeah,
They do
kaya
not
para
deserve the title.
Kaya for me, it's always important that once you garner the title, always go back to the roots of where you came from. Ibig sabihin, where you started.
Correct.
Because ultimately, as I've said earlier in this interview, parang it is an acknowledgement of your accomplishment. And
Correct.
that accomplishment started somewhere very small. Ibig sabihin, it's
Mm.
an accomplishment na nag-start ka sa HR and then you rose up, for example. So that is telling you that this is something given to you. You have to treasure it, but at the same time, don't be afraid to share it with other people also. So don't be selfish, sabi nga nila. Ayun.
yes.
Oo nga. Eto si friend Michelle talaga idol ko to eh. Kasi ang dami niya talaga na pag-aralan. She even went to UP for
Yeah.
to get a course in HR. So super
Uh-huh.
idol. But if there's anything I observed to people like friend Michelle, and of course Sir Ronnie and others who have certifications that also motivated me to also get certifications along the way, is that ito yung natutunan ko. Ito lang yung sa akin, personal opinion ko, is that those certifications and these courses that you are taking is also another way to ground us as an HR practitioner. 'Di ba? The more information you get, the more learnings that you have, sabi nga ni Sir Ron, we're perpetual learners. So it grounds us, right? Na hindi wala tayong monopoly of learning. So there's so many other things that we can still learn from other certifications, whether in the HR community or outside of our industry, which will be part of the new normal, which is another episode in the future. Kasi 'di ba, HR
Yeah.
is now going to be required to become agile. So
Yes.
hindi na siya pwedeng nakabox lang na ito lang alam ko recruitment, ito lang alam ko compensation, ito lang alam ko, 'di
Mm.
ba, engagement. So there's so many other things, especially now because of the pandemic. In some ways it has changed the landscape of businesses, right? And
Yeah.
HR will be in the forefront because we are still going to be interacting with people, the employees, the employers, and of course the stakeholders. So
Parang
we have to be
the,
ready.
the way I see it, parang mas tumas actually ang expectation ng business sector with regards to the
Correct.
HR, because they believe that HR is very capable of learning. That's why
Mm.
for HR professionals, you have to take that chance, that opportunity na business owners are believing in you in that case. So what you need to do there is to really skill up, sabi nga nila na, find
Mm.
ways to that, that you can accumulate skills so that, you can provide value to the business or organization that you are with. Yun. So this is a good time for actually for those who are in HR.
Nako. Nako, friend. Friend Michelle, ang
Ang,
bilis ng
ang bilis
oras.
ng oras.
Nako,
Nagulat
we
din
have,
ako. Oo.
nagulat ako, tumingin ako sa
One
aking
hour na
reloj.
pala, no? Naka
Oo,
1 hour na pala. Okay.
iba talaga pagka we get a very meaty discussion, of course with a very practical guest speaker such as Sir Ronnie.
Thank
So
you.
of course we will definitely get some more information from Sir Ronnie. Of course, maybe a last few words to our HR out there who are watching the Kwentong HR in the different Facebook pages.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much again, Marvin and Michelle, for inviting me over here. It was a pleasure being here. No? So I enjoyed this kind of discussions more than the webinar. No? Kasi sa webinar, medyo pressure to be able to really, medyo mind breaking yun. Kasi I try to answer questions that are coming from different ends and from different fronts. But this kind of discussion with you is a breather for me na I was able to, parang reminisce my earlier HR days and how I, became a certified HR and all. So it's good to, parang sometimes, especially because of this pandemic, it's good to reminisce on, your previous memories also. So siguro my last message lang for everyone who's listening is, again, the pandemic has provided us with the opportunity to upskill ourselves to look for opportunities that we can create value for our organization. So again, I suggest that you take this time to be able to determine where are you going to after this pandemic is over, no? Because yun nga, after this pandemic, doon lalabas kung ano yung ginawa mo during this time that we were locked up, for example. So if you did not do your homework, for example, no, you would have missed out on people who have actually gone past already. So ibig sabihin medyo parang one step ahead na yan. So kasi for me, that's always my principle with regards to HR. I always try to be one step ahead in terms of what I'm doing right now and try to read up, and advance, what I know. And I do it in different ways. No, I attend seminars, certifications, get mentors, for example, and through that, no, I see that I maintain that kind of passion for learning. Kasi I don't want to lose that in terms of my profession, because once I lose that, parang magiging boring na yata yung trabaho ko whenever I do my HR kung wala na akong passion for learning. So that's my advice for those listening to this show today. Don't lose that passion for learning, because I assure you it will lead you to greater things in your life. Yeah. So I end it with that. Thank you.
Siyempre, friend, we have to ask Sir Ron, dun sa mga nag-aspire, siyempre, na magkaroon ng certification, especially the CHRP, yan, yung
Mhm.
Certified Human Resources Professional. Sir Ron, how do they get that and how do they get in contact with you?
Oh, okay. Definitely yung sa certification, you can in my case, yung consulting company ko, which is Talent Reach, you can get in touch with us if you want to register. So that's one way. The other way is to actually go directly with IFPM. Okay? So sa IFPM, you can email them through Aliyah, which is the program coordinator. And once you inquire with them, they will provide you with a registration form. No, so you just have to fill this up. And by the way, no, another thing that I'd like to mention with regards to the CHRP, your certification here under IFPM enables you to also connect with other countries, no, particularly in the Southeast Asian region, for you to be able to get a higher certification aside from CHRP. So
Mm.
through IFPM, they will try to connect you with other higher certifications in Singapore, Australia, I think Taiwan or other countries, no, if I'm not mistaken. So you can take hold of that opportunity kasi the CHRP is recognized in those particular countries that I've mentioned. So if you're really gunning for higher level certifications, then you can start with the CHRP program. Yun. So probably I don't know how you can contact me through my email address, no? Which I can put I don't know in the chat box. Sorry, I was medyo hindi ako prepared to be able to give the ano. So you can reach me at arturla@talentreachph.com for the email. No, if you'd want to get in touch with us for the certification. Yun.
Yes, and definitely can go to Competent Training Facebook page because this video is going to be part of the library of the videos we have for Kuwentong HR. And you can also reach out to Sir Ron in his
Yes.
social media accounts.
Isa lang naman si
Celebrity si Sir.
dalawa lang naman social media account ko. LinkedIn lang siya ka Facebook. Wala na akong ibang.
Yes. Yes, and they can always watch this video again, of course, in the ASEAN HR Leaders Circle Philippines Facebook page and group pages. Ayan. Friend Michelle, ikaw.
Ayan, bago makalimutan sa yung book ni Sir Ronnie, no, HR
Yes, this
Compass.
is
So,
ano.
yan.
Yes.
Very
Naku, basahin niyo yan.
By the way, I am writing my second book, which will be out by 2021. The
Wow.
topic would be about performance management. You know? So I will be coming up with that book, my second publication after the HR Compass. So watch out for it in 2021.
Ayan.
Yan.
So actually yung the HR Compass, ang nagustuhan ko dun sa book na yun, yung sample, like nangyari talaga siya. And then ito
Correct.
may mga
That's why I
Pwede mo ako
Talagang
i-reach out para kung meron kang gustong malaman dun sa company na yon, ikikwento ko sa iyo yung full details. Kasi may
Totoo.
may non-disclosure. Baka
That's why talagang sabi ko kanina, talagang nabasa ko talaga yung HR Compass. Sabi ko, nakaka-relate ang maraming HR dito.
Yes, totoo. So it's like after you read the book, no, meron ka ng idea ng buong area.
HR life.
HR life cycle, parang ganun yung ano. Okay, siguro for me, no, if you're up to, make a difference, then take the responsibility of upskilling yourself, no? Make time to continuously develop yourself and do not forget to share. I think yun yung wag na wag nating kakalimutan. We may have a lot of, titles, credentials, pero wag nating kakalimutan mag-share sa community. Be a mentor, be a coach to others. Okay. So yun siguro yun sa akin.
Ayan. Of course, maraming salamat again to all of our ka-HR out there who is watching from different parts of the world. Ayan, from Vietnam, from Singapore, from Brunei, dito sa Laguna. So maraming salamat.
travel na tayo no, after this year. No?
Correct. Naku, Sir Ron. Gusto natin yan. And of course, to cap our session for tonight in Kuwentong HR is, of course, HR credentials are something that you can really be proud of because these are your accomplishments. But definitely, your accomplishments will not be enough for you to be able to create good relationships and for you to be able to make a difference in the lives of the people that you serve every day. Kung, again, you're not applying the learnings that you've gotten in school or in the certifications that you've got. So, kailangan mag-drive siya, right? So, again, we will see you after 2 weeks with another set of our guest speaker. Ayan. And of course, I'd like to thank Sir Ron and of course our partner, Competent Training, for continuously, of course, helping us in this sessions that we have online. And definitely, please go to the Facebook page of ASEAN HR Leaders Circle Philippines. Ayan. And of course,
Thank you so
Competent
much.
Trading.
Thank you so much, Sir Ronnie. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Competent. Thank you
also.
so much, friend.
Thank you, Fred. Ayan. So, tapos na naman ng isang episode ng
Kwentong
Kwentong
HR.
HR. Thank you po.
Thank
And
you.
God bless everyone. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Sir Ronnie.